Good evening and welcome once again to another Doctrine Call. But I'll tell you what, for the purpose of this evening's program, it's going to be Pharmacist Uncalled. I'm surrounded by some really wonderful ladies. I feel very honored this evening. Usually it's one lady, but tonight, three. So I'm a happy camper. We're getting ready to celebrate World Pharmacist Day, and we have three pharmacists with us. Online joining us, Miss Evelyn Davis, and she's no stranger to the program. She's been here before. We also have in studio Mrs. Onika Peter Greenwich. I think it's her first time, so we have a special welcome for her, at least with me, and Mrs. Lydia Andrew Duncan. I think it's her first time with me as well. You've been here with me before? Oh, yes. Well, that's wonderful. Ladies, good evening and welcome. It is a pleasure to have all three of you on the program.
Good evening.
Thank you so much. I do feel welcomed, and I'm pretty happy to be here.
Well, I'm glad you are, and I'll do my best to make you even happier. But I want to start this evening with Mrs. Duncan. Mrs. Duncan, you were in the news not too long ago. You know, I like to you were in the news some time ago. What was that about again?
Well, actually, Grenada Local Association is part of a bigger association, the Caribbean Association of Pharmacists. Mm-hmm. And normally the Caribbean Association of Pharmacists, have yearly conferences in different islands and countries. Right. We hosted here in 2014, and even before that we hosted in 1999. And this year it was in Dominica, and Grenada had a big contingent, 10 plus pharmacists, about 10 of us, and we represented well. We captured the coveted title of Pharmacist of the Year in person of Mr. Kelvin Dragon. And there was another award, Primus, I think the Pharmacist Primus Award. He captured those two awards. But I entered the news because I was elected to the Caribbean Association of Pharmacists executive, which is a big thing for us because we get to have representation from like Grenada, because normally the bigger countries like Jamaica, Barbados,
so they're the ones who get
Trinidad, they normally capture these spots. So it's
congratulations, and I'm quite happy. I'm sure I'm hearing that Grenadians will be rushing to the pharmacies. yes, indeed. But of course, we're getting ready to it's World Pharmacist Day on the 25th of September, and I am almost certain that you do have quite a bit planned. But we start from the beginning. So now we'll start online with Ms. Davis, and then we'll come around. So Ms. Davis, this year you have a theme. What's the theme, and how did we come by that theme for World Pharmacist Day?
Okay, good night, everyone. World Pharmacist Day on the 25th of September is really coined by the International Pharmaceutical Federation. And this is a global organization that represents over 4 million pharmacists, pharmacist educators, and pharmacist scientists. They have just completed a convention in Germany, I think it was. So they have initiated the day, World Pharmacist Day, to mark the timing when they would have formed that organization. And it's, like I said, it's a global organization. Many countries participated in it, including Grenada. This year, the theme is, and I think it's an excellent theme, Think Health, Think Pharmacists. It's a wonderful theme. I personally totally embrace it because tell me something. If you're not feeling well, you wake up one morning, right? Who do you call or where do you go?
You asking me that, right?
Yeah.
If I wake up in the morning, I don't feel well, who do I call? I probably call Mrs. Duncan. Being a pharmacist, right? Being a pharmacist, that is.
I raise that point to say that the pharmacist is where healthcare is concerned, is the most accessible person. You could call them anytime, you could walk into the office anytime, and you get their attention. So I think this team is excellent, because many times you're hearing about healthcare providers, you rarely hear about the pharmacist. But in essence, the pharmacist is the individual that interacts with the patient before the patient has taken the meds, because we're the ones who basically issue it. So it's an excellent team, and it also brings some focus to the pharmacy practice, what we do. So in this period here, we're just trying to enlighten the public of what our roles are really within the healthcare sector. And we have a few activities planned, among which is a debate, a very topical debate at GBSS on Thursday. And the topic is, be it resolved that marijuana should be placed in modern medicine and should be legalized for medicinal use in Grenada. So that's extremely topical. Outside of that, we will be visiting churches and so forth to do consultations. September the 28th, we are at the Baptist Church. After church, we'll do consultation with the persons there. And the day before, we'll do the New Hampshire Seventh-day Adventist Church. And then within pharmacies, you're going to see pharmacies are doing different things to, observe the day.
Okay, wonderful. Now that takes me to my next question, and I'll speak now with Mrs. Greenwich. So Ms. Davis was talking about, she asked me a very highfalutin question. If I wake up and I'm not feeling well, who do I call? And I decided I'm going to call the pharmacist. But who's the pharmacist? What does the pharmacist do? What is the role of the pharmacist?
All right, so the role of the pharmacist, as Ms. Davis rightly pointed out, we are the most accessible person in the healthcare team. Now, when you come to the pharmacy, right, there are certain questions that the pharmacist would ask, depending on what your complaint would be. So, say for example, you woke up the morning and you're having a bad cough, you're having runny nose, itchy throat, then you come to the pharmacy, you say you're not feeling well, and then we'll try to ascertain if it's the flu that you have, if it's a cold, or if it's something else. If we are able to treat the symptoms to help you get through the day, then we would make a recommendation. If we feel as if this needs to go to the doctor, your situation, then we'll refer you to the physician. But most times when people walk into the pharmacy, they actually want to leave either having some more knowledge or with something tangible to help them along the process. So we're not claiming to be healers or anything, right? But we are definitely there to ensure that persons can experience a better measure of health than when they first walked in. Mm-hmm. So whether it be through our initial recommendation or further recommendation of seeing the physician.
Right. But so, Mrs. Duncan, why not the doctor first? Is it because the pharmacist is probably more accessible, or they figure that if I go to the pharmacist, I may have a better chance of getting what I need rather than having to go to a doctor, probably pay some money that I could probably don't pay if I go to the pharmacist? What is it?
Well, I think it's both. We are more accessible, and a lot of the times when people come to us, they think they can get a quick fix. However, there are situations and times when we realize this situation is beyond us, and then we would advise that you see a doctor for this, or this need the medical attention of a doctor, or this might need a specialist or something. But I think for the patient, they want to get somebody in a position of knowledge to interact with, so that they can feel comfortable or get some assurance that, okay, I'm not dying now, but I can get some help further, or they can assist me right here. I don't need to go further. And so the pharmacists, being as accessible as we are the first point of contact, in other words.
Right. So Ms. Davis, I'm going back to you. I've heard doctors complain that so patients go to the pharmacist and get medication without seeing a doctor, and that should and we're talking here about medication that should be prescribed, and doctors seem to have an issue there. Can you speak to that?
Okay, for recommendations that the pharmacist would make is basically what we classified as over-the-counter recommendations. These are things that we can make recommendations for. When it comes to prescribed items, the pharmacist should not be making that recommendation and prescribing. In essence, we don't really have prescribing pharmacists in Grenada, at least as yet. So I really would like to address that, because what tends to happen, patients come to the pharmacist with the hope of getting some relief. And then there are times when, as pharmacists, we say, well, okay, no, this is a situation that you need to go to the doctor. And then the patient will start arguing, trying to get you to do things. So my advice to the public is that once the pharmacist says that you need to go to the doctor, even if it's just the second or third word you speak, and you say you need to go to the doctor, that's when you should go to the doctor.
Okay, wonderful. Mrs. Greenwich, over-the-counter medication and prescribed medication, how do you differentiate? Where is that line drawn?
Well, it's known, right, which medications are prescribed and which medications are classified as over-the-counter. We learned this from since in school, and as we move forward in the practice, as medications are added, depending on their class and category, it's automatic that they would be prescribed medication, and that includes all oral antibiotics. That would include antiviral medications. That would include control medications, things that people may use for pain, like the opioids and so on. Those are prescription only. There are some medications for the cold, even as common as the cold is. Some of those medications you can only get on or via a prescription. There are different subclasses, but basically in Grenada, we have over-the-counter and we have prescription medication.
Okay, wonderful. But the pharmacist is trained to make that determination.
Yes.
Okay. Mrs. Duncan, are there medications that has both classifications? A doctor can probably prescribe it, and you can also come and get over the counter? Okay.
That's I'm glad you brought up that. Because yes, they are, and as pharmacists, we are normally faced with a challenge in the sense that from the standpoint of the insurance companies. So a patient will come with a prescription. It is something they can buy outside of a prescription.
Right.
But they go to the doctor, and the doctor see that whatever treatment they need, he needs to include this item here.
Okay.
But they didn't just go off the shelf and buy it. The doctor has diagnosed them. He has seen what the issues are and decided that this is the best treatment for whatever it is.
Okay.
However, it is something they can buy even without the doctor telling them. But they did not know before.
Right.
But having seen the doctor, he's made a determination. And then when they come to the pharmacy now to buy and ask to reclaim insurance-wise, the insurance would not cover for such a thing.
Oh, okay.
And so, yes, it have items that you can get over the counter that a doctor can prescribe, and it's normally treated unfairly, I would say, because I think if I go to the doctor and this is part of my treatment regimen, because I didn't pick it up off the shelf, it should be honored by the insurance company. But we do see these conflicts arising.
Okay.
Sorry if I kind of knocked them a little bit.
No, but this is important because I think there seems to be a little issue when it relates to prescribed and non-prescribed medication. Ms. Davis, there are times a patient you go to a doctor, let's say for example, and that patient is diagnosed, let's say, with hypertension, and you placed on one of those medications, and after a while the patient may come back to the pharmacy without going to the doctor to get that same medication. Is it okay for the pharmacy then to dispense that medication?
No, simply because if you're suffering from a chronic ailment and in the doctor's or the prescriber's view that this prescription should not be refilled, and on the original prescription the doctor has not indicated the refill, it means that the person needs to go back for reassessment to see whether the drug is actually doing what it's supposed to do. It's not something that really should be encouraged. But at the same time, there are physicians who write prescriptions and they write a prescription for a year. Okay, so those individuals, yes, they can actually go into the pharmacy repeating the very prescription that the physician would have written.
Okay.
Sometimes they also write PRN, repeat when necessary.
Okay.
So that leaves you in a position of not knowing when to stop, because it's when necessary, and whenever the patient deems it necessary, they come and fill.
Okay. Also, another question. I know, like, you go to pharmacies and now the pharmacists, you have the patient's record. So you can probably refer to the patient's history and see whether this is a medication that the patient has been taking over a period of time, and be able to monitor. Ms. Greenidge, you can speak to that. Can you then dispense based on your record and the patient's history?
Okay, so this evening we're here to talk about best medication practices, and basically the points that you have raised are definitely in line with it, because we're talking about issues with patients being able to access the right medication at the right time, the right dose, make sure that it is for them. Now, once a patient has a record, right, at your pharmacy of getting particular medications, let's say it is for hypertension, the best practice after a while, I would say, if you have not seen the individual for a while, so let's say they came and they were coming consistently for about 6 months, probably to a year, and then you haven't seen them for another 6 months, and then they show up again, right, close to the 2-year mark, right? The pharmacists can, in their judgment, ask particular questions, right? Have you seen the doctor recently? Has the doctor given you a new prescription for this? Because situations need to be reassessed. As an individual gets older, there are things, even though you may be on a particular strength of medication, it needs to be reviewed. Right? Your situation needs to be reviewed. It could be that you are placed back on the same strength, right? But other things could have taken place because we have what we call comorbidities.
Right. So
even though you may be suffering with high blood pressure, you could also develop something else,
kidneys,
right? High blood sugar affecting organs and things like that. So nobody should be on an indefinite one prescription every month, coming to buy the same blood pressure medication for years and years and years on end. It is not best medication practice. It is not good for the patient at all.
Okay, wonderful. We will be engaging the audience shortly, but I have one other question, and Ms. Davis, I'll come to you with that one again. As it relates to medication and food, now, sometimes a patient comes to the pharmacist with a prescription, and the pharmacist may write, well, take X amount with a meal or take X amount at different times, suggesting that there should be some kind of interaction with the medication and food. Can you speak a little bit about that?
Okay, this has to do with, for the most part, what we call the pharmacokinetics of the drug, what the drug does. And drugs, they usually require a certain type of environment to be absorbed into the body. So when we are saying take with food, it means that we need a full stomach, probably to slow the movement of the food through the stomach so that the drug absorption could be maximized. And when we say take after meals, it could be that the drug has an effect on the stomach, that's one, or the drug prefer an acid environment to be absorbed. So it's a little technical. And I would like to urge persons that once they are given instructions as it relates to food and as it relates to other things that the drug might interact with, they should heed it, because there is a reason for actually saying that. And the whole objective behind it is to maximize the effect of the drug. All right, so if the environment, depending on one drug can cause one thing and another drug may not. All right, and as we are on food, we also try to tell persons that if they're on a particular medication, they should not use this or they should not use that. Do not use milk or dairy products within 2 hours. And all of that is because it affects the drug. We might say not to use, let's say, grapefruit juice, for example. That's one of the biggest interaction you can get with many drugs. And that is because the grapefruit juice inhibits the enzyme that breaks down the drug. So if the person is using excessive amount, then it means that the drug will stay at a high concentration for a long period of time. And that means that if the person has to repeat the dose, the concentration in the blood could shoot up and cause other adverse effects. So anytime a pharmacist gives you a guideline in terms of relation to food or in or even supplements, and there's a whole lecture by itself, you need to pay attention to it.
Okay. Ms. Greenidge, what Ms. Davis has said is important. But is that explained? Because, patients and people generally, you give them something, something, a medication, I go home and take it, and that's it. But is that explained, the importance then of what Ms. Davis has said? Is that explained to the patients, like when you give them the medication, because it's written? And it might be a patient probably who might not be, their vision is not what it's supposed to be, and but they know they have their tablet and they go in and they take in the tablet. But how and when, not too much emphasis is placed there. So is it right? Yeah, is it explained to them that the importance of following the instructions?
Right. So that's one of the main roles of the pharmacist, is also to educate the patient. Mm-hmm. And we refer to it as patient counseling or patient coaching. And it's part of the process that must be fulfilled in filling a prescription. So besides pricing the prescription for the patient, going on the computer and putting in the information, checking for adverse drug interactions, checking the patient's history. When we get to that final stage of counseling the patient, this is necessary. So some persons come to the pharmacy and they believe that the pharmacy is a walk-in run out situation after they would have spent 2 to 3 hours in a doctor's office. And I could understand that, right? You have spent all the time in the doctor's office, you're tired, you're hungry, maybe it's your children and you want to go home. But that section must never be left out. As much as we may think that the patient may understand the words that we have printed, it is our duty to get a feedback from them to understand what they understand from what we would have communicated. So many times in dispensing antibiotics, and I would reach to the point where I would say no alcohol, and then the patient may say not even some wine or a beer, and I would have to repeat that is also alcohol. And so but they're really asking it in terms of if I'm going to die, right? That's really what they want to know. What they want to know. So I'm there to assure them death may not be the first result, but what's going to happen is that the alcohol interacts with the medication, causes it not to work properly because alcohol has the ability to move drugs through the system at a faster rate, right? As the alcohol is metabolized, so is the drug, and it moves out. And so they would not get the benefits of the medication. There are a few medication, if you take it with alcohol, you can have a serious side effect. And so this one would be stressed even more. And for me, I like to counsel that you don't drink alcohol before starting the medication, and you give a window of at least 2 to 3 days on the other side after having taken the medication. And sometimes, you have to be able to understand people. So depending on the response that you get, the pharmacist can be assured that they would have communicated well and this patient will follow the instructions. I don't mean to be long, but there was this one patient for sure I remember, and she told me, "Miss, I'm going to drink alcohol." She said, "I'm going to drink alcohol. I'm going over to Carriacou. There are celebrations over there, and if you give me this medication, I'm going to drink alcohol." So I said to her, "Okay, I'm going to dispense the medication, but when you are through with your celebrations, you will return to the pharmacy. We can have another discussion and then take it from there." She was not prepared to leave off the celebrations. And as much as we would like patients to do what we have asked them to do, we have to take into consideration that they are human beings. And we want to make sure that they have a degree of autonomy over their own health, right? So I had to strike the balance. I said to her, "But okay, I'll hold the medication, and when you come back from your celebrations, we'll talk again, and then you can take it." Alcohol is one thing. Ms. Davis mentioned, you asked about food. Supplements is another thing. Herbal medicine is another thing. So we're not trying to discourage people from doing what they believe is best for their health, but we want them to be informed.
Right. Okay. Lovely. Mrs. Duncan, a patient comes to you, let's say, for example, to get some antibiotics. They're having a pain or some kind of thing, and they come and they're supposed to get the medication for, let's say, 2 weeks. Take it. And they get it, fine. They go home and they take the medication. After a week, they feel good, and then the rest stays there. Is that a good practice?
No, it's not.
Why?
Point blank. We do not encourage it as pharmacists for several reasons. When you're given an antibiotic, the duration that is given for is the duration that it is expected to get rid of that bacteria. Now, not because you start feeling a bit better within a week that you have totally gotten rid of the bacteria. Now, when you stop within a week, what happens is that bacteria that you're trying to kill gets smart. It realizes, okay, they use this medication for me here, and it will totally kill me, but I understand this medication.
How are we working now, sir?
And I'm going to transform myself to deal with it if it come again. And what's going to happen is that you develop what you call antibacterial resistance. And you also that leads to the development of superbugs. When you say superbugs, you know what Superman does do? Superman is almost undefeatable. So you develop superbugs, and then you, the patient, come and you have a relapse because you did not use the medication for the duration of the time that it was needed to be used to get rid of the bacteria. So you come and you get a relapse of the same infection. Now, if you notice, in recent times there have not been the publishing of lots of new antibiotics and stuff like that. So you now have to maybe issue the same antibiotic for a second time, but now the bacteria is stronger because it can deal with some of this medication now. So you have to give a higher dose. Giving a higher dose could be potentially dangerous for you, the person, because it can develop it can lead to toxicity, it can lead to end organ damage, it can lead to so much different things. So we encourage the patient to take their dose and make sure that they get rid of the bacteria. Even if they feel better, continue the full course of the medication as prescribed, because there are so much more to be unbeneficial, in other words, by stopping taking because you feel well. Or
when they come back and say, I miss the medication and work,
Yes, we have seen that numerous times.
Yes, yeah.
They come back and say, that medication working. I said, or sometimes we get a prescription and there's an antibiotic on the prescription, and the person say, okay, give me number 1, number 2, and don't give me the antibiotic. And I would ask them, so why do you not want the antibiotic? And they would say to me, well, I have it home. So I said, where did you get it from? How come you have antibiotic home? Well, the last time I did get some, and I didn't take all because I feel better. And so you know what's going on already with that person. That person here is having a relapse because they didn't finish the course of the antibiotics they should have taken the full course of.
And just quickly to add, sometimes there may be a time lapse. It could be 3 months, it could be 6 months, right? But it's still a relapse and even heightened to be a worse condition. And depending on how that medication was stored, Mrs. Duncan, that too can add to the fact that if that patient now takes that medication that they were holding on to, it's not going to work. Storage of medication is absolutely important. And so when we dispense medication according to the length of time that it is prescribed for, the thought process is it is safe for the time within that time. It is not to be held on to for months and months because you had it in a plastic bag, or because you put it in your medicine cabinet, or because you had it in the fridge. That does not guarantee, right, that it has been properly stored and that the medication is still effective.
Well, not only that, but you see, finishing your antibiotic course also is a protection for the community. Let's say it's a bacteria that could be easily transmitted, and you have it and you didn't take care of it properly. But within the community, you move around with people and so on, and they contract it as well. You are now creating a burden on the health system because you are now infecting other people within the community with the same bacteria and so on. So it's always important that you finish.
And without you even realizing that you're doing that,
you're not aware. So it's very important that you finish and complete antibiotics.
Another thing come to my mind on that topic is that once the organism has developed some degree of resistance, you may find the physician now having to add other antibiotic. And if you look at the cost effect, you stop using what you already purchased, you get a resistant or a strain, then you have to pay to go back to the doctor because the pharmacist can't give you the antibiotics. And then the doctor prescribes something else that is more potent in that situation. And those drugs will be more costly. And then you have to start the cycle all over again. So the better thing for you to do is complete your regimen, get rid of the organism, and, you won't have these issues to deal with.
Right, wonderful. One last question before we go to the break and then invite our audience and open. the role of patients as it relates to getting the medication. What role can patients play in improving their own safety as it relates to medication? Open. Anyone?
Yeah, so once again, we're talking best medication practices. Now, a patient may come to the pharmacy, or it may not be the patient, but a relative of the patient, a friend of the patient. For us to get all that we need to start it off, we need to know the name of the patient, if it's correct. We need to have details like age. We may ask for your date of birth. We may ask for your contact number, and so on. And all of that is building a good patient record in the event that the patient may experience some adverse event in using the medication, that we have contact for them, or if there's an error on our side, that we are able to contact the patient. So there's right dose when we're checking the prescription, right dose, right route of administration, the right patient, like we said, and so on. There's the 5 R's. Mrs. Duncan can further speak to that. And so there are things that we would need verification on. And there are times we receive some negative feedback from patients or relatives of patients or friends of patients who may not want to comply in giving us this information. So they believe that it is not relevant, right? But it is very relevant, and we would like to encourage the public when you go to the pharmacy and you are asked to give these information, that you do so readily. It helps us move forward with the process so that you can reach to your end point. Now, if once we have the correct name and that name is entered in under this prescription, then the patient's history can be pulled up and we can see, well, okay, they were using this for the past couple months, or they were prescribed antibiotics just 7 days ago and now they're receiving another set. So we may have questions. It could be that they are receiving a new prescription for something they already have a repeat in the system for by another doctor.
Right.
So we would be able to pick up that probably they're visiting different doctors in the hopes of finding an answer to their issue.
Right.
This doctor might write a particular brand, and the other one may have written a generic. And so they may have in their possession the generic form of the drug, and now they are here to purchase the brand. So we must be able to ask the questions so that we can pick up on these things. Patient safety is paramount, right? Patient safety is paramount on the mind of every single pharmacist. So when you come to us, we would like, good cooperation where that is concerned. Mrs. Duncan?
So Onika spoke to a very important part, but I want to speak to the part where we have patients who they're diagnosed now with a chronic disease, whether it's hypertension or diabetes and so on. And normally, these people, you want them to be interested in that because you have certain things you want them to do.
Right.
Okay, so they should know that it's long term and that it has to be managed. When I say managed, to manage in a way that they should know more about it, what it does to the body, how it reacts with their body, what is expected of them in terms of, okay, they have this condition here. It's not a life sentence, but if I manage it well, I can overcome it, or I can live with it for a very long time. And they know that, okay, they can ask questions about it. They can know what are the drug interactions or what are the side effects. So if they experience something, they can come to you and speak about it. They can also know things like to track it, like do regular monitoring, like checking their blood pressure, their blood sugar levels. Also, a very big part of that patient-centered care and understanding from the patient standpoint is the fact that they have to make lifestyle changes.
Right.
They have to now manage a diet. If, for example, hypertension and diabetes, they lessen your sugar content, lessen your salt content. They have to exercise. They also have to sleep well, manage their stress levels, alcohol and smoking cessation. All of these will enhance the effects of the medication. And another thing that I want to stress most importantly, because I've seen it happen time and time again with people on chronic illnesses. First of all, they'll come to you and they'll tell you, I don't want to be hooked on this medication. It's not that you're going to be hooked on it. Your body needs it. You have a malfunction, like your kidneys may not be producing enough insulin to break down
your pancreas.
Kidney, sorry. Your pancreas is not producing enough insulin, sorry about that, to break down the sugar levels. And what happens a lot of the times, they come today, they measure, monitor the sugar levels, it's low or it's on par, and they say, okay, it's good, I don't take any medication. But your condition has not changed.
Right.
Your kidney, your pancreas, why I'm saying kidney, your pancreas is still malfunctioning. Right? And not because today you get a good reading, it doesn't mean that your problem has gone away. So they will not take it today, they will not take it tomorrow, they'll not take it the day after. They check again, they go on sky up, they come, they take again. And so they're like a seesaw in taking the medication. But consistency with your chronic medications, I want to stress that is very important. And you do not stop or do your own thing without consulting your doctor. Because there might be situations where he need to make a change, like a dose adjustment, or maybe reduce one of the meds that you're on, or maybe add something that have two medication in one that can help with your issue. So it reduces your pill burden and you take one medication instead of two. And so there are lots of different angles or different things that could take place. But you have to know from your standpoint, you have a responsibility to, or you owe it to yourself for better care. Because while the pharmacist would give you the medication and advise you accordingly, the pharmacist not going home with you, the pharmacist not watching you every day, not saying, okay, time to take your pills. You have that responsibility by yourself. So for, as it relates to that, patient really need to be on top and pay attention.
Okay, wonderful. So we'll take a short break and we'll come back, and I have a few more questions that I want to ask, and we'll try and get our audience, if they have any questions that they'd like to ask, we'll accommodate them. So stay with us, folks. We'll be back with you in just a moment.
Let's celebrate the 19th annual Hubbard's Legends in Concert on Sunday, November 9th from 5 p.m. at the Grenada Trade Center with the best of Grenada, along with the Black Prince and the Pink Panther. Our partners, Hubbard's, GBN, Grenada Paper Products, Grenada Distillers Limited, makers of Clack's Court, Grenada's #1 rum, Brenville Credit Union, Bryden and Miners, Agents 4, Johnny Walker, Smirnoff Vodka and Campari, Renwick Thompson and Company Limited, Pierre Marcel, Hard On Plus, Gittins Healthcare, Dollar Savers Auto Parts, Rise and Shine Supermarket, Springs Food Mart, Excel Plaza, Clear Vision Eye Center, Chillaxing Cafe, Answer Coating, Victory Bar, Blue Bubba's PA Rental and Events Supply, Chateau de la Motte, Grenada, Captain Harris Apartments, Gem Holiday, Beach Resorts, Dana's City Inn, Glen Egg, Spring Water, and the Grenada Trade Center. Sunday, November 9th, 5 p.m. Grenada Trade Center, the 19th annual Hubbard's Legends in Concert. Please be seated by 4 p.m. Hubbard's Legends in Concert.
At Oasis Pet and Garden, we bring you the best products at the best prices nationwide. Pet lovers, we have a wide variety of loving, healthy pets just for you. Hamsters, guinea pigs, fishes, birds, puppies, bird food, and dog food. Visit the Oasis Pet and Garden today. Conveniently located along the Wester Hall Main Road, Wester Hall, St. David's, and Melville Street, St. George's. Now serving you at 2 locations. Visit us today.
Asian Asian Spa and Wellness Cafe, nestled in the serene surroundings of Le Bleu, Calivini Bay, St. George, is the perfect spot to unwind and relax after a stressful event or when you wish to spoil yourself in the most comfortable and relaxing atmosphere. They offer many different massage modalities, including thigh hammer, washer and cupping, signature thigh deep tissue massage, also facials to depuff and tighten pores, deep cleanse full body, hair and nail treatments and more. Take a walk down to the cafe for authentic Thai breakfasts and delicious traditional dishes. Choose from our special mixed drinks, both hot and cold. Opens daily. Visit Asian Spa and Wellness Cafe today, Le Bleu, Calivini Bay, St. George, because you will not regret you did. Jam's World is located on Halifax Street in St. George's, opposite Norm Shopping Centre and upstairs John's Boutique. It's the place to visit for all your children's clothing from 0 to adult. On sale are children's tops, pants, hats, vests, dresses, toys, and other accessories. Also blankets, hot and cold breast pads, breast pumps, car seats, strollers, walkers, playpens, footwear, pillows, hair products, and more. They're open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and on Saturday from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Go on down to Jam's World on Halifax Street, St. George's, and in Hillsborough, Carriacou, or call 459-6564 or 403-6564. You will not regret you did.
Welcome back, everyone. It is Pharmacist on Call, and we've been having such a wonderful discussion, and I trust, folks, that you're paying attention to some of the information that has been shared by our pharmacists, because it's very, very important. And, you know, sometimes we do take things for granted, but when it comes to our health, our life, we have to be on top of things and ensure that we do things correctly. Before we get back into our discussion, I think Ms. Davis has something that she wants to share with our listeners and viewers. Folks, you can get to win a gift certificate valued at $100 of a health consultation. And I think Ms. Davis has a very, very easy question that she can ask. And if you get the answer correct, then hey, you'd be a winner. So, Ms. Davis, what have you got for us?
Okay, the question has two parts, and it stems from the beginning. World Pharmacist Day is the 25th of September. Why was that day chosen, and what is the theme for this year?
Okay, folks, so you heard the question. Our telephone line is open. The number is 435-2041. If you can get the answer correct, you win yourself a gift certificate valued at $100, and that's of a health consultation from a doctor's office. So 435-2041. You can give us a call and give it a shot, and definitely you can get to win something. And I'm quite happy. It's the first time we're actually giving away something on our program. All right, and it took the pharmacists to come to do it. So I'm very thankful to you all. I think I need to have you all here a lot more often. That way we can get to do more of that. So again, the number 435-2041. Give us a call, and once you have the answer correct, then you would get to win. Ms. Davis, you can just repeat the question quickly, and then we can continue with the discussion while the folks try to determine what the answer is.
Okay, World Pharmacist Day is the 25th of September. Why was that date selected, and what is the theme for this year's celebration?
Right. So why was that date selected, and what's the theme for this year's celebration? If you think and these are things we spoke about in the program earlier. So if you were paying attention, I saw folks calling earlier, so I know that you're there. Give us a call and you can get to win. So while we wait on our callers, I want us to move on to the next segment of our discussion. And Ms. Davis, I'm going to start with you again, right? And this time I'm going to ask you to change position. So for the purpose of this segment, you're no longer a pharmacist, you're a patient. And you're going to the pharmacy to get your medication. What are some of the questions you would want to ask the pharmacist?
Okay. Well, I am one who is going to ask a lot of questions. I don't think that pharmacist would like me. Anyway, first of all, you would want to be assured that the medication is okay for you to take, and the purpose, why are you taking it? Many times pharmacists can't answer that question simply because they would obviously need to ask you some additional questions to come to the answer. And then you will ask them in relation to meals. How should I take it? Could I take them together? Do I have to drink a lot of water? And then I definitely would want to know what is the side effects. All right. And it's important that that is shared because what tends to happen in practice, I'm sorry, I can't stop being a pharmacist, but what tends to happen in practice is that the patient develops something that might be a side effect of the drug. And then you find them going back to the doctor relating what they're experiencing. Or who knows, they may go to a different doctor and relating what the side effect is. And then that can lead to a prescribing cascade in which, let's say, the new doctor they went to doesn't have the information of what they were on, and they may prescribe something else when in essence it's the side effect of the drug. And then I would like to know if there's any adverse effect. Anything I should be looking out for. In addition to that, storage, as Onika had stressed a little earlier, I think that is a little lacking in terms of our practice. And then, I want to make sure that when I finish taking these meds, providing I don't have a chronic ailment, that I'll be okay.
Okay, so Ms. Davis, just hold one sec. We have a caller on the line. Let's see who is with us. Doctor on call, good evening.
Good evening. I would like to make a try at the question, please. Thanks.
Yes, sure. Go ahead.
Okay, so the first part is why was it chosen? It was chosen. It was adopted from the International Pharmaceutical Federation in 2009, and the theme is Think Health, Think Pharmacy.
Okay, Ms. Davis, is she correct?
No, she's correct in one part. The
second part.
Yes, but the first part is there's a reason why the date has been selected.
Caller, did you hear Ms. Davis' comment? You wanna give it a quick shot before you hang up?
Okay, let's see. On the 25th of September, it was the day when the International Pharmaceutical Federation was founded, which was in 1912. So, in collaboration with that is how they got World Pharmacist Day. Just right.
Ms. Davis, are you satisfied?
That's correct.
Okay, so caller, that is correct. You just won yourself a gift certificate. So I don't know if you would like to give us your number on air, so we can contact you after, or if you want to call back after the program with your number so we can make arrangements to have it to you.
That's okay. I'll give my number. That's okay.
Okay, so tell us.
458 5479.
Okay, so I'll contact you right after the program, and then we'll make arrangements for you to get your gift certificate. Yes?
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome, and congratulations. All the best.
Thank you.
Yeah. Wonderful. So we do have a winner. If I had to answer that, I was going to get it wrong. So yeah, Ms. Davis, you can continue from where you are.
So other things I would like to know if there's any interaction. Is there any interactions with the food I'm taking, other meds that I might be on, supplements? And please remember, herbs that many people think it doesn't have a problem do interact with drugs, alcohol, what foods it might be interacting with. And I would like to know, what should I do if I miss a dose? Because, we usually repeat it, say, well, okay, take one tablet once a day, twice a day, 3 times a day. What happens if I forget? And what should I do? Those are some of the questions I would like to know.
Right. Very good. Very good indeed. So let me go now to Mrs. Greenwich. A patient comes to you, no prescription, but says, Miss Greenwich, I have this, feeling I get whenever I wake up in the morning, and I want to get this medication because my auntie cousin, the same thing happens to her, and that's the tablet that she's taking. What are you going to do?
Well, if she has already disclosed that another family member is taking this medication, I would try to find out exactly what the medication is and figure out what her complaint is, right? I'm not going to off the bat just chastise someone, because I want to know, right, where the issue would have started and how they would have gotten to that point. So I wouldn't want them to shut down and not share the information, because what I would be about to share with them would be very important. Now, it is dangerous, right, to share medication among family members, among friends, anybody, right? That's dangerous. Now, as much as there are different types of medication, it's that way for a reason, because people are different.
Right.
So you may have, let's say you may have 30 different medications to treat high blood pressure, and they may be different. It's because the persons are different. The way that their body responds to medication is different. What would work for Jane may not work for Alice. And so it is dangerous to take medication that has not initially been prescribed for you. There are certain factors that the doctor would have taken into consideration in giving this particular medication to Jane. And you, Alice, having not spoken to the doctor and having not identified your own issues, that's dangerous. There are some ailments that may have similar symptoms, but at the end of the day, the diagnosis is different. What may be a cough for Alice, and it may have been a cold, the cough for, I forget even the first person's name, is it Jane?
Might be a side effect.
Might be a side effect of a medication, or it may be a symptom of another illness. And so it is not best practice for persons to take medication that belongs to other persons. Going back to safety, going back to storage, who knows how that medication was stored by that other individual? And they say, well, okay, yes, I took this and this can work for you. And you pop this pill. Now, it could even be further, right? It can even go further. There are instances where persons are prescribed controlled medications, and then they go and share those controlled medications with someone else, and that person has a reaction that the first individual did not have. You know, just as an aside, you know, there is, and you know, it breaks my heart to speak about it, but we have a lot of young people dying, may not be in Grenada as yet, but if we don't curb that practice, it can happen here. It happens in North America, it happens in Europe, where young people are advised to take medications because their friend has a headache and they pop the pill, and it has ended very, very badly because that pill came from an unknown source, an unreliable source, and they would have taken it and died from some type of overdose or poisoning. Right? So folks, be very, very careful in thinking that it's okay to take medication that belongs to somebody else. There's ethical issues, and obviously there's legal ramifications.
Mrs. Duncan, just to expand on that, just moving on from actually sharing medication, but in the age that we're living in, the age of the internet, and where people can take their smartphones, Google, and go on different sites, read different things. Some of them, they are sites where that are credible with research and everything with it, and they check out medication and probably came and said, look, Mrs. Duncan, I saw this, I read it, they say it's good for this, and they can give you all the information. In a case like that, would you still be very cautious or not dispense?
Well, generally I would be overly cautious, and most likely I would not dispense and advise otherwise, because first and foremost, the source of your information has to be checked.
Right.
And it has been happening regularly. People are coming to you and say, I checked up all my symptoms online, and well, I say Dr. Google.
Right.
Because they come to you and they tell you they Google this, and I say, oh, so you spoke to Dr. Google. Right. And they come and they say they checked out all their symptoms and this is what they have and whatnot and whatnot. But I have to now start to counsel them and say, how do you know? Are you sure? Did you check this? Did you check that? That might be causing this. This is another indicator. This is this. This is, and start showing them different ways or different avenues that could put doubt in their mind as to what they're telling you. And so, I don't like to dispense Dr. Google.
It's not a good practice.
Because as a pharmacist, you have credible sites, medical sites, that would give you evidence-based information for the patient. So I prefer the patient come to you and ask you something, then you can tell them the proper thing and give them the proper advice. Then they come into you with their own research methods and their own research site and say, this is what I want because this and that. As a matter of fact, the patients that we have now, they've even gotten even more brazen because they go into the doctors now and saying, this is what I want, write this for me. They're doing that.
Yeah.
And it's dangerous because it may not be what is right for you. It may not meet your needs. It may not be the condition that you have, because you might need to do a further test. For the testing, you might need to do an x-ray, you might need to check out, you might need to do blood work, you might need to do so much other things that could lead to giving you a proper diagnosis for what you're experiencing, instead of just going and look at the symptoms. Your symptoms could mean something else. It could mean something else is happening in your body that you're not sure about. So I wouldn't really accede to that. I normally direct them to see a doctor.
Lovely. Let me just stay with you. A patient has, let's say, multiple conditions, hypertension, diabetes, other things, that would require different types of medication. How would you advise the patient to manage that? Or is it a good practice to just, I have 4 tablets to take for 4 different complaints. I just get up in the morning, I take my 4 tablets.
Now, when a patient with comorbidities, that's what we call it, have different conditions that they have to take medication for, normally when the pharmacist is dispensing, they would give them a timeline, okay, whether it's one every 8 hours. But I personally, sometimes I like to put every 8 hours. I'll put a time when I know they would most likely be awake, like I'll say 6 in the morning, 2 in the day, 10 at night, if it's every 8 hours.
Right.
And I give them a comfortable time in which they could maneuver, right? And so I like to do that. And I would advise, when you have that situation, do a review of your medication. If you need help with having a pill counter, so you can separate what you have to take in the morning, what you have to take midday or at 2, you label it, and you organize yourself in such a way that it makes it easier for you and reduce your chances of making mistakes, maybe taking the same thing that you took for the morning and you didn't have to take in the evening, take it again in the evening. Because when you have all these different tablets, you can get a bit confused sometimes, because there are times already patients come to me and say, I'm taking all these meds, and when you do a review of the meds that they have or the things they bring to you, realize, okay, they have something that's generic, and they also have a brand name to it. So these two here, I have to say these two here are the same. This one over here is not the same as this one, but it's for the same condition, or it's for the same treatment, or this is a painkiller as well, or you might say, different things. And so you have to help them as a pharmacist manage that in terms of making it easier to take, dividing it into the pill counter, and making it, putting a timeline, putting reminders and things like that is a very good way to help them manage that kind of thing. And also, they should always chat with their pharmacist or even a doctor to find out things about the medications that they're taking. If there's interaction, what they could use with it, what they can't use with it. And all of these things help them to be safer and even more adherent with taking their medications. Because sometimes people do feel a bit put out by having to take all these different meds. And so if you have a good rapport with them and you tell them certain things, then you make their understanding better and their compliance better as well.
Okay, lovely. Mrs. Greenwich, earlier, I think it was Ms. Davis who mentioned, when she was talking about the different types and so, side effects and adverse effects. What's the difference?
A side effect, we would say, okay, so let's say you took a particular medication and you got a rash on your skin, or let's say you took it and you had an upset stomach. So let me try to be specific. So let's say a particular antibiotic may cause the stomach to feel upset.
Right.
And the patient was advised, it could be taken with or without meals, but if you have a stomach upset, then you take it with meals. But the patient, the first dose, they took it and they had an upset stomach where they regurgitated, right? That's called a side effect because it's something that there's a possibility that it can happen. So it's documented.
Right.
An adverse event is an event that there was no prior knowledge of that may have happened to that particular individual from using this medication that wouldn't have happened with the last 10, 15, 30, 100 persons who would have taken it. Right? It caused that effect in them, and that has not been documented. And so, yes, we do counsel patients on side effects, but we also would let them know if they're having, after the side effects, if anything outside of that has happened, then they need to contact their doctor or they need to contact the pharmacist, and we can reach the doctor on their behalf.
Okay, wonderful. Ms. Davis, let me just extend on that, and I'm not sure if I'm probably asking the same thing, but it has to do with allergic reactions. So most times, even doctors and pharmacists, I know they may ask a patient, are you allergic to X medication or Y medication or something like that? But what if the patient doesn't know that they're allergic to a medication, and that medication is dispensed, and lo and behold, that patient has an adverse effect, so to speak. How do we deal with a situation like that?
Okay, first of all, allergic reactions, it is quite typical that many patients may not know they have an allergic reaction to a drug. Because in order to get an allergic reaction, you may have had to be exposed to the drug before, at least once. All right? So as a pharmacist, especially if you know it's a drug that persons can be reactive to, you try to find out their allergy history, what else they would have been allergic to, and then you try to equate it, the content of what that has to the content of what the drug has, because sometimes it helps you. For example, if somebody says, well, okay, I'm allergic to sardines, all right, sardine is loaded with nitrates, and as such, if the drug has that kind of molecule in it, you might say, well, okay, this is a potential. All right. So sometimes you ask them about the food, the detergent, and so forth, just to get a little picture of whether the drug is they're going to be allergic to the drug. But there are times when it's very difficult to determine whether they are going to have an allergic reaction. The rule of thumb is if the reaction is simple reaction, let's say a rash or something like that, they discuss with the physician to see how they can take them off. But if it's something like anaphylaxis, for example, in which the throat close up and they start to swell and these sort of things, that usually requires immediate discontinuation and immediate medical intervention. You have to consult the physician. As a matter of fact, when you see that reaction, you need to go to the hospital right away, because they're the only person at that point in time that can assist you in that given situation.
Okay, wonderful. And finally, someone who is starting medication for the first time. So you go to a doctor, a young person, and for some reason you feel a little unwell. And you visit the doctor, and lo and behold, the doctor realized that, hey, your blood pressure is 100 plus over whatever. And you now have to go on medication. Starting that, what advice would you give to a young person or anybody who is starting a new chronic medication?
Usually that is a basis of consultation. And I'm happy we have this program, because if you have been diagnosed with something for the first time, you should have dialogue not only with your physician, but with your pharmacist, in which they can listen to what you're experiencing, and then they will be able to tell you what to expect from the drug. All right. If it's a young person who is hypertensive, and not a young person, but anybody, you will start looking at some of the possible or potential side effects of the drug. And you have to warn those persons, because it means that their body, because it's new, may take a little time to adjust. All right. Usually side effects are not symptoms that you need to discontinue the drug. Adverse effects is when we would discontinue the drug, or we may switch, or we may reduce the dose, or whatever the doctor chooses. All right. But as a pharmacist, you sit down, you have that dialogue with them, tell them what the meds is, what they are, what are the expectation of them. Obviously, if it's a chronic ailment, you still have to bring in lifestyle modification, because we always need to emphasize the lifestyle modification, diet, exercise. If it's something like diabetes, even the pharmacist could recommend, okay, you need to see a dietitian to help you to come up with a feasible plate in terms of your eating. And because the pharmacist is aware that, okay, this is the first time, what you will find pharmacists may do is that after you use it for a couple of days, they may say, well, okay, give me a call. Let me hear how you're working, how it's working out for you. Because, things can happen. And we urge them to stick to the dosage regimen that was given to them. If they experience anything, then the doctor has to be notified, and then the adjustments. Now, things like hypertension and even diabetes, they're not usually controlled with the first drug that you take. All right, it may take a little while to get that balance and to get the dosage correct. So those are things that we need to inform them and let them be and play an active role in the treatment. Let them get involved. Usually when patients are involved in the therapy, they tend to do better. They tend to be more compliant. They tend to understand why they're doing what they're doing. So that's a period for consultation with the pharmacist.
Okay. I have a question on our WhatsApp platform, and I hope I get the question. So someone is asking about the use of herbs with prescription drugs. I hope this is where they're going. Anyone using herbs and prescription drugs, is that a good combination? Or because there are people who, as we say, they believe in the bush. Something happened to them and they go and they boil some bush and they drink the bush. Whether it's a good practice or not, I'm not sure. But is it recommended, prescription drugs and the use of herbs?
I don't want to say it's not recommended, but I would want to say you have to be very, very careful about it. Because when you have a prescription medication, certain herbs can interact with it. And for us, our herb, when we talk about herbs, we talk about the backyard stuff. We go and take the Santa Maria and the thyme and the other stuff that we get in the backyard as herbs and boil or draw and drink. Now, first of all, we do not know the dosage as to how much we consuming of the active ingredient in this herb. We do not know how effective. We do not know at what level it's going to be toxic. We do not know if what we're taking, if it's going to interact with whatever else we're taking. There's just so much uncertainties and so much gray areas that if we're taking prescribed medications for any condition, I would prefer, first of all, consultation with your doctor and consultation with your pharmacist, because there are some herbs that could be used in safety, and most of them are bottled on the shelf, and you can use them because they are already dosed. They have a milligram attached to it, so you know how much of that you're getting and so on. But normally the backyard kind of draw this and take that and drink bush and zebra peak and all these different things that we take locally as herbs. We have to be very, very, very mindful of that, because some of them, they could be very detrimental, more than harmful, more than helpful, to us in situations like that.
Ms. Granger also asking if you can take tablets with liquid blood tonic, if you can take it together.
Well, it all depends. If it's a liquid blood tonic, then I'm assuming that it has iron. And there are some prescription medications that we would not suggest that you take with iron supplements because it prevents the absorption of the drug. And particularly some antibiotics, and that will be specifically stated on the patient's label or verbalized when we counsel them. So to be safe, if you are not sure if you ought to, don't, first of all, and then secondly, you can ask your pharmacist a question. And when we say together, I am assuming one of two things, that it means at the same time or within a couple hours of each other. And there are some things that if sufficient time has passed, yes, you can take it because the process of digestion has taken place, assimilation, absorption, and it's okay once the sufficient time has passed. But definitely, when you are swallowing a capsule or a pill, preferably you take it with water, unless otherwise told to.
Okay, lovely. And finally, I did say final earlier, but finally, Ms. Davis, the misuse or probably maybe going for the abuse of over-the-counter medication. Medication people have easy access, so they come and they buy it. How can the pharmacists help prevent the misuse of that?
Okay. No. I think one of our most misused agent might be ibuprofen or Advil in the pharmacies. My advice to persons, okay, you have a pharmacy. There's a pharmacy in your area. You need to get medication, whether it's over the counter or not. Consult, have that dialogue with the pharmacist. All right, they'll be able to advise you, okay, is this okay in this given situation? As well as they'll be able to identify whether what you're buying warrants the purpose. You understand? Because you might think that it's one thing, but in essence, it's something else. And then dosage becomes important. Usually, individuals should follow the labeling. However, we know that there are some persons who would step up the doses with the hope of probably getting better faster. There are many reasons for it. But dosage are designed in such a way to help the person and not to create any side effect or adverse effect. My advice is that if you need to take an over-the-counter medication, consult with your pharmacist. They are in the best position to help you. And likewise, back on the topic that Lydia has said earlier in terms of the herbs, it is imperative that you tell your pharmacist and your doctor what you're using. All right? I can cite an example. For example, if somebody is on aspirin as a blood thinner, as they would call it, layman terms, and then they go and they consume a lot of turmeric and ginger and garlic. Those things also thin the blood. So it means that that individual could actually start bleeding because the blood has gotten so thin. So my thing is that if you are using, you should have that dialogue and get the input. Yes, it may be difficult to determine the actual constituents that the person is taking or the concentration, but there are some drugs that are kind of fickle in terms of the action, and you need to make sure that that interaction doesn't exist. Because if you know what people just take, they just take a handful and they throw it inside and they boil and they thing. Okay, so that dialogue you should have with both your physician and your pharmacist when it comes to whatever herbal supplements you're using, whatever dietary supplements you're using.
Okay, lovely. Ms. Greenwich, Ms. Duncan, anything you all want to add before we wrap, because we're almost out of time?
Well, for me, this session today was about best practices for medication best practices. And one of the key takeaways I want to say to the patients, adherence to the medication, taking the medication safely, storage, efficacy in terms of taking it on time, when you should, how you should. All these are important as best practices for you as a patient, and it's one of the best patients and that care that you could give yourself along with the pharmacist, because when the pharmacist gives you, you know our responsibility to carry your part of the package. So we give it to you, but you know how to take it, adhere, make sure you take it safely, make sure you don't overdose, make sure you don't underdose, and these sort of things. So I just want to encourage patients that while the pharmacist will be looking out for your best interests in terms of making sure that we give you the correct thing, the correct medication, dosing, make sure make you aware of the interactions and all of that. You have your responsibility to take it safely, correctly, adhere, and do what you should.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Mrs. Gwinnett, your closing?
Yes, so I would like to encourage persons to use the services of the pharmacist. We are very, very accessible. We are very knowledgeable about medications, and many persons in our population, they just live and suffer with certain things. You know, they just say, well, okay, that's it. I have this, I have that. And they don't realize that they can come to us. You do not have to have a prescription in order just to receive some information or advice, right? It could be something as simple as a toenail fungus or a fingernail fungus. Don't believe that you have to live with it for the rest of your life and watching your toenail or your fingernail wither away. You can come to the pharmacy, yes, for something as simple as that. Don't think that you need to have a lot of money just to purchase something. Come and have a discussion with us. We are happy to accommodate. We would also like you to know that we not only see you as a patient, but we see you as a human being, an individual, right? And so the patient needs to be patient, right, when they come to us, so that we can give you the best of what we have to offer. We want to give every single person all our attention. So don't be afraid. Come to the pharmacy, give us a call, and just let us know what's going on with you, and help us to share the information that we have. You know, my heart just bleeds for the nation. We are experiencing so many things. The younger generation going through the same set of stuff that we once thought was only for the older folks.
Indeed.
Come, let's test your blood pressure. Let's test your blood sugar. Come have a conversation with us. Let us help you get to know your numbers, get to understand why this thing must be done. Don't wait until it's too late. Right? We are there to help. Yep. We are happy to help. And we are part of the healthcare team. So let's all work together for that holistic health for our nation.
Thank you very much. And Ms. Davis, finally, think health, think pharmacist. And I know there's a week of activities. We did not get to highlight it, but briefly, as you make your closing remarks, maybe you can just briefly share with us some of the activities for the GAPS week of activities.
Okay, well, we have arranged some school visits. We would have visited a few schools already, and there are a few more to be visited. We're having a debate at GBSS Auditorium at 6 p.m. And the topic is, be it resolved that marijuana should have a place in modern medicine and should be legalized for medicinal use in Grenada. We will be visiting some churches, the New Hampshire SDA Church on the 27th. After the church service, we'll be having consultations in which persons could discuss the medication with us. We're having a team of pharmacists there to assist. And on the 28th, we'll be doing the same thing at St. George's Baptist Church after church at around noon. In addition to that, within pharmacies, they are doing little things to bring their attention to the pharmacists. Hey guys, this is World Pharmacist Day. You need to maximize. You need to interact with your pharmacist. As we said, we are accessible and we have a wealth of information that we can help you with. Okay. Those are our activities. For now, we do have some activities coming up in Carriacou, but we'll mention that a little later.
Okay, wonderful. So, ladies, I thank you all so very much for being on the program. And there's something else that you wanted to...
We may have customers who celebrate us.
I missed that. we have a pharmacist fete somewhere.
No, we want to celebrate the World Pharmacist Day with our patients. So just as how we are accustomed celebrating them, they could celebrate us.
Of course, most definitely. For a moment, I thought you said pharmacies was having a fete somewhere.
All our activities are focused outside of us. It's for the community, and that's what we want to let persons know, that we are here for the community. And in each place a pharmacy is set up, it isn't just because we're here to make some money, right? We're here to make an impact in the community, and that should be the driving force. We know that, the healthcare system, there's a hospital in this parish, there may be one in that parish, you understand? So accessible as we are, we want persons to know that they can come and they can get our attention. And pharmacy is adaptive. Pharmacy has changed a lot over the decades, and it will continue to change. So don't only see us as the persons who will fill your prescription, to give you pills. We're also there to give advice. We're also there to give you counsel on how to use medical devices,
right?
How to use your blood pressure machine, your blood sugar machine. Even there are pharmacies who do point of care testing on site. Right? So we do blood cholesterol, we do pulse oximeter, HbA1c, and those things. This program can cover everything, so you have to come and have a discussion with us.
I'll tell you what, Mrs. Greenage, I'm listening to you, and I'm glad you say that this program cannot cover everything. So I'll allocate one program a month for pharmacists.
All right.
That way, you guys can come and we can talk. You mentioned the use of those devices, and I think that's a very, very important thing, because people should be able to access them and be able to use them. Yeah. So again, thank you all very much, and of course, there's always an open invitation. All it takes is a phone call, and we'll be happy to accommodate you. So, ladies, thank you all so very much for being here, and congratulations on World Pharmacist Day, and I do hope that all the activities that you've planned will be successful, and continue to share information and continue to take care of us. I'll pop by some pharmacies tomorrow and celebrate the pharmacists. Yes?
Thank you.
Yeah. So thank you all very much. Again, Ms. Davis, thank you. Mrs. Greenage, Mrs. Duncan, thank you all very much. And do have a good night. All the best.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
indeed.
Okay.
All right.